My name is Chad Gifford. I used to work at this place. I'm chairman of BPE, which proudly sponsors what is an incredible morning where so many of the civic business leaders in Boston get a chance to see what's really going on in the public schools, and they get a chance to hear from folks like us, and it's really a two-way win-win. I am one of 5 people that are about to welcome you to lunch. That's what it says here. And I'm going to be brief, and I've got another 30 seconds. And the only person that can do whatever he wants is our mayor. Everybody else will be very brief. So, welcome. I do thank Bank of America for hosting this, BPE for sponsoring it. You're going to hear more from Jesse Solomon, who's the executive director. And with that incredible welcome, I will introduce the chairman of the Boston School Committee, Michael O'Neill.
Thank you, Chad. I used to work for Bank of America a couple of years ago when Chad was running it, so when he tells me to be brief, I'm going to be brief. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of my colleagues of the Boston School Committee, we want to welcome you and thank Boston Plan for Excellence running this. I do have several colleagues here, so I just want to make sure to introduce them. Regina Robinson, I saw in the crowd right here. Thank you. Michael LeConto. Thank you, Michael. Jerry Robinson, I saw here as well. Is Jerry? Oh, Jerry right there. And I'm not sure if any other members are here. So thank you. We had a 5-hour meeting last night, so not everyone was here. But I have to say this is one of my favorite days of the year because I'm so optimistic about what's going on in Boston Public Schools. Between the superintendent and the mayor and others, you're going to hear about all the good things we have going on, so I'm not going to get into it. We have our challenges as well, and we're working on those. But it's days like this that allow people to understand what's going on in the school. So I want to quickly ask, how many have done Principal Partners before? It's great. So thank you for your continued commitment to our schools. And how many was this your first time? So we have a lot who have done it for the first time. So I bet it was eye-opening for you, right? And you learned you have a newfound respect for the role of our school leaders, our incredible school leaders who are doing this day in and day out in 128 schools. I want to give you 2 quick examples, very quick examples of why this is so important, this program. A couple of years ago, Steve Wright, the managing partner of Holland and Knight, visited a school, got to know the partner when the program was called Principal for a Day. He ended up forming a relationship with that school leader and became a mentor and an advisor to that school leader over the years, truly exemplifying why it's now called Principal Partners, not just Principal for a Day. The second example is Ryan Hutchins, who runs New England for Gilbane Construction. Is Ryan here today? Not sure if he is. So Ryan, a couple of years ago, visited the Carter School, which is our school for our most developmentally disabled students who literally have the toughest challenges you can imagine. Ryan was so struck by what he saw that day that he has brought to bear the past couple of years and very actively right now is working with the city and the district and myself on how we can expand that school. He's brought Gilbane's resources to bear, he's brought his personal network to bear, and we're working actively on a plan to expand that school, truly exemplifying again what Principal Partners mean. So if you saw what you like, if you liked what you saw today, you saw the need that we have, but you can also see the ability we have, the opportunity we have in front of us. So truly exemplify what this means by Principal Partner. Become a partner with the principal, with the school leader that you work with today. Mentor them, advise them, give them ideas, allow them to bounce ideas off of you, the expertise that you have, and help us together improve the educational opportunities for the 57,000 children in the Boston Public Schools. So thank you again for attending, and thank you so much for Boston Plan for Excellence. This is a wonderful program, and we love it. Thank you for Jesse and Chad for what you're doing. And now I would like to hand it over to the President of Bank of America, Massachusetts, Michal Chamberlain.
So thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your very busy schedules. I know I thoroughly enjoyed my morning today at Young Achievers over in Mattapan. Really gives you a glimpse into what our teachers across the community face every day and the challenges and the inspirational work they're all doing. And I'm so happy I got the chance to do this for the 2nd year in a row. And I had a quick conversation with Superintendent Chang because I had the ability to sit next to him at lunch last year. And I said, "You must be a seasoned veteran." And he said, "No, I'm a grizzled veteran now, and that's what this city will do to you." But with all the great people we have in this room, I think we can all chip in and make a difference. And working with Mayor Walsh and others, we certainly are committed. We know as a corporation, with the amount of employees we hire and employ here, that it's so important to get a great pool of talent locally, and to make sure it's diverse talent as well. So the schools most of you visited today, I think, exemplify everything about what we want to continue to bring into the bank as employees. And again, we're thrilled to be able to partner with all of you in this room. And I'd like to next introduce Mayor Martin J. Walsh. If there's anyone in this city who understands the importance of a great education and what we need to do as a city to ensure that we have the finest education system there is in the country, it's Mayor Walsh. And I'm thrilled and honored to be able to introduce a friend and the mayor, Martin Walsh.
Thank you, Mihal, and I want to thank you and everyone at Bank of America, not only for participating in this great program. And Chad, I remember when this program was Principal for a Day, and I was a state representative, and I would go to the different schools, and I know that we have Senator Mike Rush here and some other elected officials were Principal for the Day. And I was just amazed at the commitment of Bank of America back then and keeping that commitment forward. So I want to thank you and everyone here, and I know outside a lot of the folks that work at the bank took time to be here with us today and help us make sure that today went well. So thank you very much, all the employees and staff of this great bank. I want to thank everyone here today. I want to give a shout out to a couple people, Tommy Chang, the superintendent. Tommy Chang, when he accepted the job as superintendent, he came into me and he talked about, he knew that we were passionate about our sports in Boston. And I said to him, we're passionate about every single thing in Boston. Whether it's building a roof deck on a house or whatever it might be, and it's probably going to end up in the paper, and we're going to have activists on both sides and protests in the streets. So I think after 2 years now, he certainly has that down, that he knows that. So I want to thank you, Tommy, for the great work you've done. Ron Dorsey, the Chief of Education. Ron's working on a whole host of different issues for us. I want to thank Ron as well for what he does every single day. Mike O'Neill and the entire school committee. A difficult job. It's not an easy job, but it's a job at this particular moment in time that if you're going to be on the school committee, this is the time to be on it, because Boston's in a transition period, and there's going to be a transition of making sure that we continue to have great success. In case you haven't heard, I've been talking about it a little bit. This year, when the scores came out, it was the first time in history that Boston had more level 1 and level 2 schools and level 3 schools in the city of Boston. So there's a lot more to be done. There's a lot more to be done that we're going to continue to do, and I want to thank a lot of you here that are partners in that. I want to thank the Boston Public Schools. I want to thank the Boston Plan for Excellence for keeping this great tradition going, because it certainly is a great tradition, because it's a day for us to be able to, everyone I spoke to on the way in, I asked what school were you at, and every single person said, oh, we had a great experience. It was unbelievable. You don't understand what's happening at the school. And just about every single person said, you need to get more money to that school. So I'm like, thank you. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank our principals, who oftentimes get overlooked, and people don't really understand what they mean to us. That success that we have more 1 and 2s over 3s is not what I do, not what the school committee does, not what the superintendent does, the Secretary of Education does. It's what they do inside the school. We can lay out all the policy, and we can talk about all the reform, and we can talk about all the changes, and we can talk about this is how you should deliver it, and that's how you should do it, and this is how you should do it. It's the principals that are the people on the ground, along with the teachers, that actually truly carry out what happens in our schools, and I want to thank them for their great work. They're tackling a lot of difficult challenges urban education brings with it, from student safety to outcomes for 5 to 10 years down the road. This event's important because we need our leaders in our city to see up close and personal what education means and what type of business we have and how we can improve it and some of the changes that we have. And with the election that happened last Tuesday, two big, in the national election, not local, well, partly local, 2 big results impacted the education landscape in Boston and beyond. One was the overwhelming vote on question 2, no on 2, to expand charters. I want to say it again. That vote was not against charter schools. I was on a radio show that night, and somebody called in and said, well, charter schools took a big vote today. It showed people didn't want charters. No, that vote did not say that. What that vote said was we shouldn't expand charters in such a vast way. And that's what I was advocating for, so we can look at the system, what we have. That vote actually last week was a vote for all our schools. I think what I took out of that vote is that myself, the legislature, the governor need to act on the message and work on creating a more workable funding system for the long-term health of our local district schools, but also our charter schools. We are advancing a positive change in the Boston Public School system. We're on track with a long-term financial plan, something that is needed, a 10-year facility master plan, something that is needed, a pre-kindergarten expansion, something that is needed, looking at transportation systems and making them more efficient, something that's needed, and growing our summer learning internship opportunities, something that's needed. Question 2 reminded that if you can't impose big reforms from the above, you need to earn support, the trust and support, and move them up. And that's something that Michal Chamberlain, when he sits down with the board of directors here in the bank, when they think about their model, the model that they're running today is different than what Chad had when Chad was here. And what happens is, in order to stay the best, you need to make the changes to change that. And that's what we have to do in our public schools and in our entire school system. We need to make sure that the supports are there to carry out these schools, but we also need to make sure that what the change is happening in the schools from the classrooms up. And that's something that we're moving forward in the city of Boston. The other result was the presidential election. This impact could be wide and deep in education as well. I want to start by just saying to everyone in this room, our kids in our city, in our schools, shouldn't be worried about where they came from to get an education. And that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening right now in our city. And I know that I've suggested that we kind of take a wait-and-see approach to what happens with the new administration in Washington, D.C. But when it comes to putting fear in young people's heads and hearts, it's something we can't stand for. Wednesday, Superintendent Chang sent a letter out to our school community. He sent a letter out to our kids to let them know that we're there for them. I've tried to every single day from that point till now, up till today, to say the same thing and to express the same thing and show the same thing, that we are a city built of immigrants. We're a city of inclusion. We're not a city of building walls around and keeping people out and throwing people out. We're a city that, when you look out these windows, any corner of this building, this city was built by the immigrants who came to this country. Some landed in that airport across the way there, and some came over that sea. And we shouldn't be used, this presidential election shouldn't be brought up to the fact that we're telling people they're not welcome in this country. Because that message transcends down to our first graders and our kindergartens, the same ones that you saw today, that feel that they shouldn't be welcome in this country because of the color of their skin or where they came from. I'm passionate about this issue because I'm angry about this issue. I might have different economic ways of how this new election is going to deliver the economy and things like that, and that's fine, we can have those arguments. But when it comes to bullying little people in our city and families in our city, I'm not going to stand for that. And I don't think anyone in this room should stand for that either. I'm also concerned about the impacts of revenue, because 10% of our revenue that runs our budget every year is federal aid. We're certainly going to advocate to make sure we continue to get that money. We're going to make sure that our funding continues to come without strings. But it's something that I'm going to be asking the business community, because as we go in circles, and you're in different circles and you have an opportunity to talk to somebody in Washington, D.C., I would appreciate and ask you to please throw in a word for some of the recommendation, the funding that comes down to our cities and towns across America. Because it's important for us to be able to continue to do the great things that we have in our city and the great things we're doing in our district. We have one of the largest districts in the country, one of the strongest districts in the country. We are committed to constant improvement in that district. The same for the individuals. If you are concerned, then we need you to get more active about these things. We have a couple opportunities. Invest in BPS. Create a system for employees to get involved in our schools. Invest BPS, not just today, but I need you to get involved every day, 365 days a year, or the 364 other days that you're not principal for the day. I know we changed the name. I forget the new name. I want to thank you. We've scaled up our Adopt a School program, something that I announced at the Chamber of Commerce when Texas was one of the first companies that adopted the Winthrop School, and now we have other employers adopting other schools for opportunities. I want to thank you for that, and I ask you to continue to do that. We want you to also, we set up an online portal to connect your internet in capacity with our school's needs in the investbps.org program. The opportunities are endless. You can help strengthen the education in the classroom. I'm just going to end with this. Mihal brought up, and he said that I'm passionate about education. When I look at the city as mayor or as a state representative before that, I think about all the great things in our city. I talk about this so much, people are sick of me talking about it. We have $6 billion worth of development going on in our city right now today, construction in our city. We have more permits pulled than ever any other time before. We have wonderful companies like General Electric and companies like Bank of America and so many of your companies in here that are moving into our city or have been here for 100 years. Our population is 650,000, but it's probably really 673,000 people when we get the census data for the end of the year. We're the highest population since the 1960s. We're going to be the highest since the 50s when we hit the 700,000 mark. We have more direct flights from international cities into Boston than ever before, over 55 of them. We're building more housing than any other period in the history of our country in the city of Boston. We have 40,000 units of housing either under construction, in the pipeline, or completed. Many of those are low-income, moderate-income housing. It's not all high-income housing. We have people walking in our city every day all over the place. We look like Manhattan in a lot of ways with people on every street. It's not just in one area of the city of Boston. And there's no reason why any child who is 4 years old that enters our system or walks into a charter school or walks into a parochial school or private school, there's no reason in this day and age in this city of Boston that by the time that young person is in 12th grade, that young person is not on a pathway to college or a pathway to a career. That's what we have to do. That's what we're going to do in the city of Boston. We're going to do it with your help in this room and many other people who are partners here. I want to truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for visiting the schools in Boston. You all in this room know how great our schools are. You know how great our principals are. You know how great our teachers are. You know the challenges they face every day. But most importantly, you know how great our kids are. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Paul Sagan. I'm the chair of the Massachusetts Board of Ed K through 12. So I have the enviable task to follow the mayor's inspiring words and stand between you and the rest of your meal. So I think that very much fits with my role. Hi, I'm from the state. I'm here to help you. It's a pleasure to be here. This was my first time participating in this program under any name. Thank you to BPE for arranging it and hosting me. Really, on behalf of Commissioner Chester and myself, I wanted to thank you all for doing this and for being here. We see ourselves at the state board as being in partnership with every single district across the state, over 300 different districts in our incredibly fragmented community in the Commonwealth. And we feel a deep obligation to work with every district, but particularly with Superintendent Chang in Boston, because it's the largest, it's the most kids, it's the most families who deeply want opportunities for all of their children. And our obligation is to work with you and to help and to nudge and to find ways to help you get there. And we take that responsibility with great seriousness and in partnership with all of you. And I would just say that I hope you, as I felt when I went to the Dudley School today, this incredible energy. And I understand that there was at least one representative today in every single public school in Boston, which is amazing. And I think we all left feeling energized and great about what was there. But I would remind you that you also probably saw a need and desire in these kids and these teachers and their administrators to do even more. And we won't be back in most cases for 12 months. And that's not soon enough for the urgency that they need. So when we go back to our day jobs, we should just remember that we need to keep pushing and helping all of them and finding the resources and pleading the case to continually improve these schools because they are our future. And I would end and just say, I was struck by much of what the mayor said, but he said, these families and these kids don't need to worry about where they come from. It's also our obligation to make sure they're not worried about where they're going, right? That the opportunity that they want, we will deliver in schools for all of them so that when they make it, when they come in as 4 or 5-year-olds and they leave after high school, they are ready for careers and they're ready for the next training. And we're doing that for many kids, but not all of them. And I would hope that when we're done, not a single one worries about where they're going because they know they're going to opportunity. So thank you for including me. The rest of lunch now comes and then the program will follow after that. Thank you.